Hi everyone, welcome back. Today I want to talk about why and how our hive attacks seem to be so unpredictable. While many of us would say, well, I went out into the sun, or I did exercise, or my shower was too hot and I got a hive attack, which may be the reason why, but it may not. And it may not be the same reason why you got an attack the next time it happens. There's an unpredictability there. And while we don't ask that question right away, because when the hives come on, all we're concerned with is let's get that antihistamine in me, let's get in a hot tub or a cold tub or a compress and get that pain subsided. And when the pain does go away, we then maybe begin to ask the question, not just, why is this happening to me, but possibly, what did I do? And there's a point of view that I want to share with you today that I feel will be very, very helpful for you. It was enormously helpful for me in many, many ways. Because when I began to become my own advocate and researcher as to what's going on, I began to notice that circumstances became more predictable when I kept a record of when the hives came, what I did, when I did it, what I ate, and such. This is one of the first things that I recommend people do, and that I'm going to recommend people if I develop a course or I do some coaching in it, because it worked so well for me. When we look at our hive situation as a fact that there's one thing that does it to me, you may be on to something. So you may stop doing that one thing. But I'd be really surprised, and I'd be very happy for you if you stopped doing that one thing and they stopped completely. 90% of the time, if you have idiopathic Urticaria, it's undiagnosed, which means it's going to happen in a variety of situations. And that's overwhelming to the mind. But there's a method of looking at these occurrences and making some records so that you can begin to understand under what circumstances it happens for you. Now, that's just a little piece of getting started. Having said that, let's take a look at what's really going on in the body. Again, we have to free ourselves from the trauma once the hives are gone, that we can begin to look at this in an easy way, okay? And in not a very fearful way, and begin to think that we can find a solution. Now, while everyone will have their own triggers, allergen, pathogens, whatever environment, some of us, including myself, would wake up in the middle of the night with an attack, and we'd take off our shirt and we'd see that the crease marks on our arm or neck or waist was a reaction to our stretching our pants in our sleep or too tight of a shirt when we're sleeping. And you go, wait a minute, my hives are also being caused by pressure. You're going to find when you make some notes that it's the sun, it's pressure, and it could be a whole lot of other things. So what I'm getting at is to introduce to you, if you haven't noticed this already, food for thought is what's going on in your body And this is really the crux of why allopathic medicine cannot diagnose the cause. Hence they call it idiopathic. It's Latin, I think. Idio sounds to me like an idiot. But in Latin, it means you just don't know. I guess an idiot is somebody who doesn't know anything. Oh, and I should say right here, if this is the first video that you're watching of mine, I am not a doctor. I am a sufferer. I was a great sufferer of hives, just like you. So I have no medical background, but I've learned a lot in the 5 years. And I'm going to be using a lot of medical terms. But please don't get confused. If you have not been diagnosed with the type of hives that you have, go get diagnosed. Don't use this video to diagnose yourself. It's important that you know, because 90% of what I say is really addressed to idiopathic urticaria. While people who know that they're allergic, they go to their allergist and they're tested, and the allergist says, you're allergic to peanut butter, or you're allergic to strawberries or nightshades. You can simply not eat nightshades and you seem to be hive-free. It appears you're out of the woods. You don't really know why all of a sudden in this point in your life you've gone AWOL on tomatoes, but you don't care because you found the reason, and it's well worth not eating tomatoes and suffering like we suffer. But if you're idiopathically inclined to urticaria, then you have no idea what it is. So let's take a look from a general point of view. When we get a hive attack, what's going on in the body? Well, the body feels like it's under attack. There are things that go on in the body. Here I go sounding like a doctor, but you know. When we have a hive attack, what's going on is the cells, there's certain kind of cells that's in the derma of our skin, the many layers of our skin. And it's called a mast cell. And the mast cell, it has receptors to it, which means that it will react when histamine goes to that cell, when there's histamine in the blood. And those histamines go and touch the mast cell. The mast cell has a receptor that says, oh, this is histamine. I'm going to produce an antihistamine response. And that's what your welts are. That's what hives are. They're a reaction to histamine, which is why we take antihistamines. Duh, I don't mean to. So the mast cell says, hey, too much histamine in the body, produce antihistamines. And when one cell feels attacked, all the cells in the body actually feel like they're being attacked, because all of our cells are connected together through the vagus nerve. The vagus nerve is just a nerve that goes through the body that tells the body how comfortable it is, how safe it is in the environment. And I'll have references later on as I put all my information together. So when one mast cell in one part of your body gets hit with histamines and begins to produce antihistamines, then the connectiveness of all the cells in our body, the message goes out to the entire body. Histamine, histamine alert, histamine alert. And that's why all of a sudden your head is itching, you scratch your head, and all of a sudden you look at your arm and it's all red. You look down and it's going all over the body. Because the body talks to itself. It has a nervous system, cell communication, an intricate cell communication. So no matter what is the pathogen, the allergen or the stimulus for the hives, when the body goes on alert like that to produce antihistamines on its own, it's feeling like it's under attack. And when it feels like it's under attack, what happens is there's psychological reactions to that. And the body begins to feel weakened. Now, once the body begins to feel weakened, the vagus nerve sends the message out to the cells, shut down, we're under attack, be protective. The body starts shooting all kinds of white blood corpuscles through the body. All these reactions are happening. Many of them I don't even understand, but I've read about them, and you can too. Then the body feels like it's under attack. And when these attacks happen regularly and our Urticaria or hives become chronic, which means they don't just come and go, because the body is used to getting those antihistamines out, clearing it out, and then calming down. But when the whole body feels like it's being threatened, then it goes past a point where there's no return. The body floods itself. It says, I'm in major attack alert, boom. So understanding that the body is on alert lets us know that if it wasn't under alert, maybe you could eat that tomato. Maybe the sun pushed you over the limit and now you eat a tomato and you have another hive attack. The body stays in alert for quite some time after your hive attack is over. And in chronic urticaria, the body's always in alert. If you have a hive attack every day, your body does not forget that it's on alert. It will become sensitive to things that maybe before it wasn't. And that's why the first thing I ask people to do is to keep track of what you're eating. And we can deduce from what we're eating to what the body is reacting to. Once we get the main cause of the attack under our belt, we find the secondary ones. And when we stop eating the primary and the secondary ones, and we don't eat a lot of histamines, then the histamine that's being produced in the body, under the reason why all of a sudden one day we had hives and the next day we don't, then we can attack that, then we can approach that. There's a very logical way. There's a regular method to finding out what causes secondary attacks, what causes primary attacks. And this is imperative for us to know, to help us take control and help us to help ourselves, since we're really on our own except for antihistamines, steroids, and expensive shots. And in a quick minute, I just want to say that I read a Facebook report today. Some young gentleman had a hive attack 8 years ago. He had it for 3 years. And then after 8 years of not having a hive attack, he had another one. I can't imagine what that feels like. After 8 years free of hives, he gets another one. There's something going on in his body that he hasn't addressed. And with my method, you can absolutely address them all. Well, I hope that's not too much information. I hope that helps, guys. Leave your comments below. I want them. Subscribe. Let me know what you think if you have any questions. And be safe. Take care. Until next time.